Call this October 11th Jackson County Commission meeting to order. We'll have our roll call. Commission District 1, Mr. Guffey.
Present.
District 2, Mr. Venable.
Present.
District 3, Mr. Miller.
Present.
District 3, Mr. 4, Mr. Lidwell.
Present.
All right, we have a quorum present. Have our invocation by Mr. Porter and our pledge by Mr. Lidwell.
Lord God, our sovereign Father, we're blessed to be here. We're so thankful to live in this country, to live in this county. It's a beautiful county, it's a beautiful country. We're thankful for that, God. As we go into this election cycle, we pray for wisdom, we pray for guidance, we pray for your will be done. So we pray for your presence as we go to the polls and we elect folks to represent us in the government. God, help us always to remember that you're in control and you're in charge no matter what happens. It gives us comfort, it gives us hope. We're so thankful for that. Watch over us and guide us every day. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item is approval of the agenda. We have 8 items on the agenda. Any changes before proceeding?
Yes, sir. I'd like to make a request that we add one item to the agenda, possible future purchase of equipment for Jackson County Public Works pending inspection of the vehicle.
Is there any objection to adding that? Okay. Any other changes before we proceed?
Number 4 needs to include that and also, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, yes. All right. Any other changes? Okay, if no other changes, we'll approve the agenda with 9 items, or entertain a motion to approve with 9 items and change to item number 4. Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Okay, no awards, anyone sign up to speak? Okay. No minutes from previous meetings, no old business, so we'll go straight into new business. And the first item is regarding the funding for the circuit clerk's office. We had discussed this in the past at our budget meetings as to how we want to proceed on this. We do need to make a decision. Myself and the circuit clerk did meet with Senator Livingston last week to discuss this. I think he's looking at some opportunity to maybe fund this for the short term. When that decision will be made, or if that's a possibility, we don't know. So as a commission, again, we did discuss it. I think we need to give a final answer whichever way we want to proceed with this. Even if we choose to fund it, I think it should only be done until the legislative delegation makes a determination on those funds that are available over there, or some combination, something with that. So any recommendations on how we want to proceed with this?
Does her funds need to be paid in lump sum or monthly?
The way that it was being done before was monthly.
Do they have the funds to carry them for the first of the year? Or we could pass that we would fund it through $1,000,000 if the delegation hasn't done something by January 1st?
I don't believe that they have the dollars to do that. I don't know if it's true. The way that their dollars work is they have to send those dollars to the state every month in order to keep those folks. They may be able to survive this month, but I don't know if they could go much longer than that.
So we could pass a motion to fund for 3 months, get us to January, then that'll give ample time to find something, wouldn't it?
Yes, we can do anything with it.
I'll make a motion, we fund it for 3 months.
Okay. Have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that? So this would,
pull those dollars from.
we would have to pull it out of Fund 112, dollars available there. I say we would have to, the land redemption dollars have to go to the general fund, so we would end up putting that into the general fund, which 112, even if we wanted to pull it from the land redemption fund, that's where those dollars would come from.
But it could be earmarked to use land redemption funds for 3 months.
Right. The dollars we transfer to the general fund.
Yes.
So you want to amend your motion to include that?
I do, and I thought that's what we were doing anyway, but I make a motion to fund it for 3 months with land redemption funds.
Okay, so the motion as it stands now is to fund it for 3 months, using those dollars transferred to the general fund from the land redemption account, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and do you hold that second still?
Yes.
Okay. So questions or comments on that? You'd made mention, it'd be, well, you stated that, October, November, and December is what you're saying.
That's correct. That'll just give us a little bit of time to figure out where we're going.
Okay.
And I just do not want this to become a budget item. I'd rather do it, that period of time.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we have a motion, and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Okay. I'll let them know that. Next item, contract for updating electrical at the county park boat docks. You have those given out. Copies.
Well, one of those, Mr. Hodges was given before Scottsboro Electric took over the primary in the park. And one of them was gave this afternoon, late. So that first one, which shows his, it's not comparing apples to apples now, okay?
Okay.
So I think we need to go back and I need to get with Scottsboro Electric and see what they're gonna do, and then we'll proceed from there, and just give them rebid and then.
These are simply quotes, or I guess one identifies the numbers or whatever, but would we be able to do that within 2 weeks so we could have that at the next meeting?
I can try my best.
And what you're saying is we'll get Scottsboro Power Board out there, if ever, I think we had to vote on this, didn't we? Scottsboro's taking over all the primary at the park.
Yes.
We entered into the agreement, so, that's where some of these costs may change, like you said, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So any objection to proceeding like that will basically go back, confirm what Scottsboro Electric Power Board's doing, and then get new quotes based off of that. Which should reduce our cost. Okay, anything else, Mr. Barnes?
No, I think that's the best way to handle it now, so it's.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay. Place that on the next work session if there's anything available. If not, we'll pull that off, but we hope to have it by the next meeting in 2 weeks.
Right.
Okay, next item's the funding for water projects. You have a packet that identifies, the first 2 pages are the industrial park project that we were funded for by the state. We got confirmation on that last week, that we received that. The next 3 items are 3 other projects that we've discussed in the past, items that need to be done. So the proposal on the table, I think this, again, we had discussed this before as far as funding this. The Jackson County Water Authority voted at their last meeting to fund the material cost on not the industrial project, but the 3 other projects. So the breakdown of how we would move forward, if we plan to move forward, the water line replacement for the CDBG grant, the dollars that we would commit to that project would come from our industrial development fund, in lieu of tax 1% that we have based on the change in the bill. The other 3 projects, which is a substantial amount of money, would be your estimated project cost minus the material cost is what we're committing if we plan to move forward with these other 3 projects. Now these projects, if you look at the first one on County Road 42, that will connect our Wanville location with the Fackler water line. Now this is going to help with pressure in that area. It'll allow for fire protection in that area. It'll pick up, I think, around 10 or more residents and or businesses in that location. So that's The cost on this one is due to having to cross another stream, which I think we've got a permit to lay the line down as opposed to have to bore under that stream. The next item, County Road 531, this is one that's been talked about quite a bit. If you're familiar with that area, there's kind of a swampy area back there. By doing this would allow fire protection on 531. It would give water access to these folks, potential 11 customers. And there's a possibility, there's not a guarantee, but there's a possibility that on 220, we can add fire protection there. I think when we came into office maybe 2 or 3 years ago, folks were requesting some fire hydrants at that location, but the pressure was not strong enough. This could add enough pressure. They won't know until the pipes are put in, but there's a possibility that'll increase pressure and allow for some better fire coverage in that area. And then finally, County Road 105, this was another one brought to our attention in the past couple of months, potential 13 customers. This will finish off water access on County Road 105. It is expensive. This does not include fire coverage for the quote that you see here. So, questions, comments on this? It's a very expensive endeavor. We could commit next year's capital improvement dollars to this, or a portion of the capital improvement along with a portion of funds from 112. Or all from 112 if you wanted to proceed.
I've got one question on the water line replacement project that the CDBG grant
Right.
is partially funding. How come the commission part, our part stayed the same when we started getting contributions from businesses? Jackson County Water Authority, their contribution dropped, but ours didn't.
That's what they voted to contribute.
They only voted to contribute the 26.9.
Correct.
Where did the 42.9 come from? Is that what we asked for initially? From them?
That's what we had planned to put in, and I believe, yes, that's what they were gonna split with us originally.
Okay. So when the business contribution increased, that decreased the funds that they're required to do because that's what they voted for, right?
Correct.
Gotcha.
And again, this is strictly up to how we want to proceed. We did receive the grant though, so I think we do need to move forward with this. We can adjust that however we want to, but I think.
What's the amount of money in that EDA fund?
At this time, I think it's about 35,000.
35,000. So it'll really get close to covering this one project,
Yes.
and the others will be kind of.
The other were, they could
We'll have to
qualify
look
with
at
those
112 or something like that, right?
Correct.
These are all worthy projects as far as I'm concerned. Getting good water to these folks is important, so I make a motion to accept all projects.
Okay, and for the remaining 3 projects, the funding, 116 or 112,
Do we need to name the funding source at this moment?
it doesn't have to be, we can make that.
Because I don't, let me see if I can find it.
116, we paid HRF off, and if we were to pay it for 116, we'd have to commit next year's dollars for that.
Right.
But we can come back to the table with that if we want to make that commitment and then choose a fund later. We can do that, right, Mr. Porter?
Sure.
We don't want 112, we're gonna have to, probably gonna have to put some $116 towards this. But I don't have a good balance on
We don't-
116, we can't spend it at once.
When will these dollars need to be made available?
The quickest project is going to be the CDBG project. The other ones will move a little bit slower. The County Road 42, the engineering's been done on it, so that bid can start, but we still have to go through the bid process, which is going to be another month before we get those bids back. On the other 2 projects, engineering has not even been done on those, so it's going to be a little while. If we want to move forward with a commitment today, we can come back at a future meeting after we've had time. We don't have the final cash numbers for end of September, so
That's what I would
we don't have those yet. Okay.
No, this is August. Right now, we've got 60, the EDA fund is up to 60,
Okay.
say 60,000.
So that'll-
So anyway, I think we need to take just a moment to figure out,
Can we not just go ahead and
Industrial.
obligate, and then project by project, bring it back to commission to decide the funding source.
We'll have at minimum 4 weeks for any of these.
The industrial development fund is at 24,000 as of August, so
Okay.
you got another one that's been deposited.
We'll have 2 more deposits.
Yeah, my motion stands that we approve these projects and come back for funding at individual times. Is that sufficient?
Okay, so motion to approve these with the decision on the funding coming at a future date from Mr. Little. Do we have a second?
I see.
Okay, what other further discussion we have on these? These water projects obviously are expensive. I think it's important to know that this is the kind of thing when we talk about investment in our community, if we want these things to happen, it's going to take local funds from this point forward. There's still a few areas we can receive some CDBG grants for residential areas. There's not many of them left though. So for these folks that are still without water in this county, it's gonna take local dollars to do that unless someone comes in and writes us a check for these types of projects. So,
Is there anywhere we can look for these being such rural areas, look at a different type of grant?
that's what we presented in Washington. We didn't get any feedback, but we presented in Washington that these are the types of things that we need some dollars for. CDBG is really, that's all that I know of. When I look at the grant things that come through on a weekly basis, most of them are for projects outside of an infrastructure project, more event type things, or setting up a program of some sort as opposed to infrastructure. But we keep a lookout, and actually Lenore, our licensed inspector, has been looking at some of these things too to see if there's opportunities for grants elsewhere. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve these items tonight and choose the funding, which fund they will be paid out of, and the funds are available in a couple of different areas. We just need to determine which one we're gonna pay it out of, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Motion and second, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, say no. Okay, next item, appropriation for Bryant and Denton Fire Departments from Mr. Lettle and Miller's Fund. I think that totals for $3,000, is that correct? Okay. So do we have a motion?
No,
total.
total.
So we have a motion to approve that funding? Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on this item?
Just, she will make sure that Cammy's aware of it. She's not aware of the second one yet.
Okay.
Okay.
I think she's staying tomorrow, but we will let her know. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Next item is regarding the Red Cross use of facilities agreement. Red Cross, I think, is trying to get their books in order. Actually, we discussed this at a work session last week. Okay, so, again, the key thing, if we do choose to do something with that building, there is a 90-day clause in here that we can request them to move their office. So any other discussion before we proceed? Okay, do we have a motion to approve this agreement? Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? I should have clarified, Mr. Porter, did you say anything in this that?
No, sort of the 90-day termination clauses should be fine. And my only, we had discussed, or you all had discussed, allocation of space and the need to get some compensation for the space provided.
Right.
And this one is clearly, there's no compensation.
Right. Which, anything that we change, again, we have that 90 days and we can renegotiate that.
That's right.
But their insurance will
Yes.
go into effect
Yes.
for that portion of it.
Their insurance.
Yes.
That's how I read it too.
So any other questions or comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, next item's the IT position. Again, this was discussed last week. Everybody, I emailed out a copy of the job description last week. The changes to this is who the individual reports to. Revenue Commissioner and myself. The external contacts with the phone system is another piece of equipment that was not listed on here and we wanted to include. Mention the AS400 on here, which we've discussed, what the need for that. Someone that could competently use that. They don't necessarily have to be skilled proficient, as we do have folks that can help in that process. So those are the big changes from the ones that you received via email. So are there any questions or comments about this? This was approved in the budget when we approved the budget a couple weeks ago. We just needed to clarify the job description and then advertise it once that's approved. Any questions or comments? Motion to approve the job description and advertise for this position?
Make that motion.
Do you have a second? Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. If you have any other questions or comments on this, let us know. We'll try to start advertising this week for this so that we can get this process moving. Every day, I think there's something happening, that there's a need for that. Okay, next item, budget amendment for the mapping cell phone supplement. Again, this was presented to us last week. We're still working to get the policy together, but in order to get the budget to the state, we wanted to go ahead and amend that budget. What was the total amount for that that you were requesting?
$1,500.
Okay, $1,500 to do the budget amendment for, and hopefully we will have that policy in the next week or two to be presented and discussed. So any questions on that? Have a motion to amend the mapping budget for the $1,500 as stated.
So moved.
Motion, do we have a second? Okay. Any other questions or comments? This will be, we have a phones line, so that's what this amendment will be listed on here. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. Okay. Next item, approval of bid on the Jackson County Park Playground. We had two bidders on the playground project. You have a copy of the front bid sheet, and I have a copy of both bids here if anybody would like to review those. After reviewing the bids, you'll notice the low bidder on this. The low bidder did not meet our bid specifications, proposed an alternative basically to the bid specifications, and it would be requested that we, what's the word that I need to use for that, Mr. Porter, that we disqualify them?
Or just reject the bid as not being, not non-conforming.
Okay, so reject the bid from J. Dawson as non-conforming, which leaves one bidder on the table. Do we need to vote on that first, or do we just move forward with?
Just move forward.
Okay. So the issues that were brought up with that, with the type of metal that were being used on that lower bid, and also we had asked for a specific refurbishment of equipment out at the playground, and the low bid removed that equipment and did not replace it all. There were a few pieces replaced, but it did not replace all of that equipment. So it left us with not the setup we were looking for, not the materials that have been requested also. So the recommendation would be to move forward with one stop on this bid. A copy of the, this is general contractor's license. This was brought up about how the bid process went and whether there was a contractor's license available for one stop, and this is the contractor that would be doing the work if we approve this bid. So for everybody's information, Carl, do you need a copy of that? Mr. Ford. The reason this has been on hold for a few weeks is because of the bids. We wanted to make sure what the difference in bids were. We spoke with the architect who's been working on the park project and reviewed these bid specs with her. Her recommendation was also that they did not, the lower bid did not bid as per the specifications.
When would be the start date?
As soon as we could get started, if we were to do this tonight, what would be the quickest we could move forward with this?
2 weeks.
I think, if I say something.
Yes.
I think, once we shut it down to start the work on it, I don't think we need to open it back up. I think we need to put a sign out there that says, you know, sorry for the inconvenience. You know, something like we're trying to upgrade the kitty park and, you know, be bigger and better when it reopens or something like that. Because we still gotta do some work on the bathhouse, and we still got a couple, 2 or 3 things to tear up out there, and like I told, if we don't start bringing some sand and stuff in right now, and it starts raining, then we're not gonna get sand in. So, we gotta start buying a bunch of sand too. So I just wanna make, if we just keep it closed once we close it, and I can get a sign made in the next week or so, I hope. And
I think the key thing, as we talked about before, was just making sure folks were aware that it was
Yeah,
going to be
yes,
closed.
yes.
Right?
And I'll try to get that sign made before the end of the week, if that's okay, and put it up.
Have you looked this bid over pretty good? I mean,
Yeah.
it meets everything that you know of.
Yeah, the stuff we have down there that we're gonna refurbish, you can't buy that stuff anymore. Okay, once you refurbish that stuff, it's gonna outlast probably a bunch of us in here in this room again. So, with that other bid, he was just wanting to put not a good a great stuff in. He'd be redoing it in 10 years probably.
It was a removal of all the old equipment,
Right.
where we specified removal of a portion of it as opposed to all of it.
And we also got he wanted to remove all of it, and it's a doctor had passed away 3 or 4 years ago, and his daughter donated us a new merry-go-round. We corresponded with her from California. She even paid for the merry-go-round, paid to have it put in and everything, and and that was a part of the equipment that he was wanting to take out. And, so, I don't know that we could have done that.
Can we not provide them with a tax ID number and remove this almost $7,000 worth of taxes on the material?
Should be able to, yeah.
I mean, that's 7,000 less than what total is, because we ought to be able to remove those taxes
I think it's within a few $1,000
of the low bid to start with.
Yeah, you could have that, I don't see any reason you can't do that, so that it'd be tax-free.
That's $7,000, so.
So we could, if we were to do that, you don't see any problem?
No problem.
Okay. If we were to do that, we would approve the bid with that change. That would be
Sure.
acceptable.
I make a motion we approve the bid, less the taxes.
Let's look at that motion.
Can I say something?
Yes.
How long, what, 90 days, 120 days?
The bid states,
120, so when I make the sign, even if we open it up earlier, we could put at least 120 days on there, right? Being closed.
yeah, put a max number of days, hopefully something will.
Hopefully it'll be sooner.
Any other questions or anybody else?
6 months.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other questions?
6 months.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Okay. Next item is regarding equipment purchase, or possible equipment purchase for Public Works. Mr. Campbell?
Thank you, gentlemen. First of all, I want to apologize for late notification on this. For some time now, we've been on a waiting list to receive possibility of surplus equipment from the state, in particular large wheeled excavator, the Great Alls, which is a lot of you are aware is a flagship piece of equipment for our operation. I received notification Friday that there is an option of a piece of equipment that has been turned in that the county would be allowed to purchase. And it is a 2007 model Great All with north of 3,600 hours, somewhere around 20,000 miles on the running gear. The piece of equipment that would replace is a 2002 model with over 8,000 hours on it, and has been somewhat problematic in recent years as far as maintenance required to keep this piece of equipment in operation. So the approval that I'm seeking this afternoon is Part A, to look at this piece of equipment, determine if it's worthy, have our mechanics check it out. If it's worthy, be allowed to purchase this piece of equipment. And Part B would be to surplus the 2002 model and replace that with a 2007.
Where do we pull the funds to pay for this out of?
We would be fine with 100.
And we could take the surplus money and of course offset what we're fixing to spend.
Right, what you guys have allowed us to surplus, there's somewhere near $100,000 in surplus equipment waiting to be auctioned now. And then we're looking at somewhere in the $20,000 range with this old great all that we think we could recoup there by salvaging that.
So, okay.
New piece of equipment and the old and same manufacturer thing.
Yeah, same model, great all XL 4100, the 2007 model, and then our 02 model is that. We also have a 2011 model that in 2011 we paid $321,000 for by comparison. So these are, they're large pieces of equipment. They're on-road speed vehicles that don't require mobilization by a lowboy, and they're heavy lifting, all of our ditching. Most of our operations can be performed with these pieces of equipment.
Other questions or comments? So what we're looking for is a motion to approve the purchase of this equipment pending an inspection by our mechanics and approval from Mr. Campbell.
And a surplus.
And the surplus, and approval of surplus in the other.
Yes, sir.
The old,
Make that motion.
Okay, any further discussion on this? How quickly will we know, when will we take time to inspect that?
I called the gentleman today that can give us permission to look at it. I anticipate being on the road to look at it tomorrow, and then we'll know the condition, and I'll be in touch with a recommendation after that inspection.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Okay. That concludes the items on our agenda, so moving on to our reports. Mr. Porter, do you have anything?
I don't have anything.
Mr. Barnes?
No, sir.
Mr. Campbell?
That's it.
Mr. Arnold? Chief Judge. Okay, Mr. Venable?
Nope.
Mr. Miller?
No, sir.
Mr. Griffin?
No, sir.
Mr. Weber?
No, sir.
All right, that concludes the items from our agenda this afternoon. Don't know of anything other than we will see everybody next Monday, and we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
Do we have a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.